All right, so it's a quiet Saturday night in May, 1987. Canada. You're sitting in your house near Toronto, maybe flipping channels, maybe trying to figure out what to eat. Somewhere else in the city, a young man is climbing into his car, alone. He's 23, no criminal record, no red flags, just a regular guy named Kenneth James Parks. But this drive, it's about to change everything. He doesn't stop for gas, doesn't take his wallet, he doesn't even put on shoes. He just drives for 14 miles in the dead of night, and he's not running from anything. He's heading straight towards something without even knowing it, because this wasn't a getaway, it was a sleepwalk. Yeah, you heard that right, the guy wasn't awake, and by the time it was over, one person would be gone, another barely survive, and Parks would walk into a police station covered in blood, mumbling, "I think I've killed someone." But hold up. Let's rewind, because this doesn't make sense yet, and that's exactly what makes it terrifying. So who is Kenneth Parks? On paper, he looks like your average guy. Married, one kid, a decent job, liked hockey, had a bit of a gambling issue, yeah, but nothing violent, no red flags that scream danger, just regular. But on the inside, dude was crumbling, his gambling was spiraling. He owed money, a lot of it. He'd just lost his job at an electric utility company after embezzling from employee accounts to cover his debts. He was scared his family was about to find out everything. And the stress, it was crushing him from the inside out. Still, he kept showing up to family dinners, kept calling his in-laws, Barbara and Dennis Woods, his wife's parents. They adored him. He called Barbara Mom. He told them he'd explain everything soon. Come clean. He was planning to make things right. And then came that night. Sometime after midnight, Kenneth gets out of bed. His wife says she didn't hear a thing. He gets into his car barefoot, no keys, no weapons, no plan. He drives 23 kilometers, still asleep, supposedly. Pulls into his in-laws' driveway, walks through the door using a key he had, heads to the bedroom. What happens next? Even Kenneth won't remember. Barbara Woods, 42 years old, is found fatally attacked. Dennis, her husband, survives after a violent struggle. Barely. And Kenneth? He doesn't run. He gets back in the car, bleeding from a deep wound on his own hand, drives straight to the nearest police station. He walks in, his hands shaking, clothes soaked in blood, looks the officer in the eye and says, "I think I've done something terrible. I think I've killed people, my in-laws." The cop asks what happened, and Kenneth stares into space. He says, I don't know. And that's where this story stops being a crime and becomes a mystery. Because what kind of person does that and remembers none of it? A killer or someone who wasn't even awake? If you're still watching, you're already in deep. Go ahead, like, comment, and subscribe before this gets even more twisted. You don't want to miss how this one ends. Let's keep going. The officer books him, blood's taken, clothes sealed, and Kenneth Parks? He just sits there, staring, barefoot, exhausted, confused. He's not asking for a lawyer. He's not denying anything. He just keeps repeating one thing. I didn't mean to. I didn't even know I did it. Now the cops are thinking, okay, this guy's pulling some kind of act. But here's where things start getting weird. No alcohol in his system, no drugs, zero sign of psychosis, and when they search his home, nothing. No signs of planning, no notes, no bloody clothing hidden in closets. The only thing they do find, a man who was crumbling under financial stress, who'd just confessed to his wife about the embezzlement a few days earlier, who was scared but never violent. So investigators start pressing harder. If this wasn't premeditated, if this wasn't drug-fueled rage, then what the hell happened? And then Kenneth's defense team drops a bomb. They say Kenneth wasn't awake. They say this entire thing, this brutal, bloody nightmare, was carried out while he was in a state of non-REM parasomnia. That's right. They're saying Kenneth Parks didn't just walk in his sleep. He drove. He unlocked doors. He attacked 2 people, all while unconscious. The prosecutors? They're ready to laugh them out of court. But the science? It backs it up. Sleep experts start running tests. They wire up Kenneth's brain, EEG scans, overnight monitoring, and what they find is stunning. Kenneth shows unusual brainwave activity consistent with parasomnia, deep sleep behaviors like sleepwalking, sleep-talking, and in extreme cases, complex actions with zero conscious control. And here's the most terrifying part. Those brainwaves, they spike even while he's describing the crime. This man's brain was stuck in a state between sleep and waking, even after the incident. It was like part of his mind never left the dream world. Suddenly, this isn't just a courtroom drama. It's a neurological horror show. Now the court has a decision to make. Is this a man who planned to hurt someone and used sleepwalking as an excuse? Or is this the real deal? A man whose brain betrayed him in the most unimaginable way possible? And here's where it gets gut-wrenching, because every time Barbara Wood's name is mentioned in court, every time photos of the crime scene are shown, Kenneth Parks breaks down. He sobs, he collapses in his seat. Not like someone putting on a show, like someone who can't even understand what he's looking at. He says he loved her. He called her mom. And now he's facing life behind bars for something he doesn't remember doing. And just when you think this case couldn't twist any further, the experts take the stand. And what they say changes everything. The courtroom holds its breath as the experts begin laying out the science. One by one, neurologists and sleep specialists take the stand, 5 of them in total. And none of them flinch. Each one says the same thing in their own carefully chosen words. Kenneth Parks didn't fake it. His EEG readings are abnormal, even by parasomnia standards. His brain exhibits signs of someone prone to deep sleep disruptions, episodes where the conscious mind is completely detached. His physical actions that night? They were possible, even consistent with extreme sleepwalking behavior. They explain how people with this disorder have done bizarre things in their sleep, cooking meals, driving cars, even walking outside naked, all with no memory after waking. But in Park's case, it escalated beyond anything the court had ever seen. And then comes the most chilling detail. They say his drive, 14 miles through busy Toronto intersections, was done with rote muscle memory. Not conscious thought, not planning, just mechanical behavior hardwired into his subconscious. It wasn't Kenneth Parks behind the wheel that night. It was something else, something deep, something automatic. Now the prosecution scrambles. They try to poke holes. They argue that the level of violence involved had to be deliberate. They say no one could do something that specific without at least some awareness. But even the forensic evidence doesn't help them, because there were no signs of cleanup, no effort to flee. He drove straight to the police and turned himself in. That doesn't scream cover-up. That screams total confusion. That screams shock. That screams, I don't know what I just did. And the jury? They're shaken. Here's this guy, mid-20s, trembling on the witness stand, crying through testimony, not defending himself, but trying to understand himself. He talks about waking up in a jail cell, looking down at his hands and seeing them wrapped in bandages. He sliced them open during the attack, deep gashes across the palms, and he didn't even feel it until after. He describes the horror of hearing the charges for the first time. How his stomach dropped when someone finally said the words, "Your mother-in-law didn't survive." He says he broke, sat in that cell, sat in silence, and thought, how do you live with something you can't even remember? And then the judge delivers the ruling. Acquitted. The jury agrees with the defense. They rule it was non-insane automatism, a rare medical state. Parks is found not criminally responsible due to sleepwalking. He walks out of that courtroom a free man, and the public? They lose it. Some people say it's justice, that punishing someone for something they didn't consciously do defies logic. Others say it's a loophole, that letting a man go free after such an act, no matter the science, is a betrayal to the victim's memory. But here's the hard truth. Sometimes in life, the answers aren't clean. Sometimes the brain writes its own story. And no matter how much you want to hit rewind to find that one moment that explains everything, there isn't one. Kenneth Parks wasn't evil. He wasn't innocent. He was something else entirely. A man who became a passenger in his own body and woke up to find his world shattered. That's the story. Now I want to hear what you think. Drop a comment below. Let's talk about it. And if you like this video, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.